Hi, and welcome to the Sunday Lunch Project Manager podcast for Sunday, the 20th of March 2022. This is your host, Nigel Creaser, and this week I've got the first part of my chat with Eleanor Mosh, the construction coach. So let's get to it. Again this week we are sponsored by Tamplo. Tamplo turns meetings into action plans, and we all want better meetings, don't we? How many of us spend too much time in meetings, and how many spend too much time in meetings that just are no good, and we think we shouldn't be there. I heard a story that Elon Musk said that people should leave their meetings after 10 minutes in his organisations if the meetings, they don't need to be there or don't understand why they're there. But what happens if you need that person there? It's just that they didn't know they needed to be there. Well, Tamplo can help. With their meeting structures within their cloud-based service, you can create structure for meetings and meaning for meetings, with a clear agenda, setting meeting parameters to stick to a plan. Shared it, and how often do you get that situation where you have someone like me maybe who takes off down a rabbit hole? Well, that's it. You can use this tool to keep to that. The shared agenda you can create allows those rabbit holes to be identified early and become fully prepared, and have all the invitees add information into those agendas where they need things to be talked about. So no surprises. You can lead the meeting through using Tamplo at each item and record the information or decisions or actions live in Tamplo and also through Microsoft Teams. You can add comments, decisions and assign tasks as you're doing it. None of this, right, looking through your notebook and deciding what was it that someone said, who said they'd do that. You're doing it there, and it's going to drop into their dashboard. Meetings are also minutes sent to all invitees, so they know it's all there, but you're not having to sit back and create those meetings later on. And they're available for everyone to look back over time. Ideal for using with recurrent meetings where you want to see all of those decisions that step through, but you don't want to look through 100 different Word documents that are ordered in a weird SharePoint site in a weird order because someone saved the document as a different name. The meetings become shorter and more enjoyable, or as enjoyable as a meeting can be. It allows you to stick to an agenda and be more collaborative. And no one leaves the meeting not knowing what they should be doing or who's doing it, because it's all there in Tamplo. So your meetings are better. But then, have we all been to meetings that have been brilliant and superb? I've been to some, they've been really good. But then, nothing happens after those meetings. All of the tasks that were allocated, all the things weren't chased up, weren't chased down in it, and all of it drifts. That's where Tamplo can help again. The project and task management and follow-up capabilities of the tool provide a clear dashboard with an overview of scheduled tasks, alerts on tasks, and overview of team's progress, so you can track what's going on and I can track what I need to do. You can create your own daily plan of tasks that you want to work on or check in on with the others. Easy task assignment, and then adding deadlines and degree of importance, who the owner is, and followers. You can follow them. Clear descriptions, and you can upload documents too. So it's all in one place. Easy project management with dedicated dashboard, lists of tasks, and what people are working on, so you can see in one place as a PM what people are doing. It's a collaborative tool with all documents uploaded in one place with stress-free feedback, and you manage a validation of status and comments. You can assign tasks to individuals or to teams. So again, if you've got those self-managing teams, that can be done without you being, it can be clear that team A has that, they can put it on their backlog maybe. So no task is left undone, and the tracking is transparent to everyone. There's more efficiency, more motivation, and change status is clear once tasks are completed. It gives a clear actions plan, more structure, and hopefully more projects completed on time. As PMs, if we can complete projects on time and more efficiency, do what we want to do. The product's easy, intuitive, it gets your work done with peace of mind and more efficiency and more collaboration. So, if you want to have a look, I have a URL you can pop along to called tinyurl.com/Nigel Creaser Tamplo. That's Nigel Creaser Tamplo, all one word, and it's Tamplo. If you don't know how to say Nigel Creaser, it's Creaser. and I get a little kickback if you decide to sign up for the full service or one of the subscribed values. But there's a trial. You get a 14-day trial, I think it is, and to try it out and see. Well, actually, it's a full month trial, so you can get a month's worth of being more productive and trying this out with you and your team. So get on it, have a go at it, and enjoy your better meetings and better to follow with Templo. Well, what's been going on with me the last couple of weeks? Basically, I've been getting loads of people sorted out, ready for podcast interviews. It's really fantastic. I think I may give you guys a break from my voice in the summer like I did last year. So it might be a nice little time to do that. And I think I've probably got September, October scheduled for interviews with people. So really pleased with that. We've got some great guests coming. Some really interesting topics. So that's fabulous. What else has been going on? I just pinged out my latest newsletter, which covers a lot of the old stuff. So if you are one of my newsletter readers, maybe you've probably heard most of the stuff I've sent out, but it's out there. So it's been a quiet couple of weeks. I've been busy doing stuff, but it's been a quiet couple of weeks, I suppose. So I'm not going to burden you with lots of chatter. I'm going to let you get on with the chat with my chat with Alan Marsh. So, yeah, a short intro this time, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the interview. Cheers, bye.
That's why it's so important that as a leader, we have people in our corner. We don't need many people, whether that's a significant other, even more importantly, a mentor or a coach, or someone who can always provide that, that sounding board and that direction is imperative, because there is nothing to say that whilst leadership is lonely, that you have to go about it alone.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good point. It's and it makes me think there. I've the one thing in my career that I've not maintained a good mentorship group for myself. I've had fits and starts with it. I have some people who kind of have filled those roles, but not in a formal manner. I think the closest I had to that was one of my old bosses many years ago who had left the company, moved on to another, and we used to meet up regularly, and it would kind of be really useful getting in touch with him. It's interesting seeing that, like the organisation I've been in now, I've been there coming up 17 years, and I've seen a lot of people who have worked for me, who have moved up and past and into much greater heights, and when they've worked for me and they've done really well, and then they've moved on, and it's kind of been really, really nice to see them succeeding in the organization, and it feels so good to feel as if you've made a part, even if it's a small part. Even if they didn't like me and they decided to move to another role and find something else, that might have been a small part. But or if it was just something you've said that can help, or just giving them that room to spread their wings and develop, it feels good to see it. And it's tiny. And you say if you can get that pleasure out of that, it makes it easier to sit with someone and go, look, you've been doing this, and you've been doing this. That's stopping you getting further in the organization, stopping you being the best you, because you're doing it with the right care and love for that person and the want for them to succeed. And if you're doing that, it's so much easier to help develop someone. Whereas if you're doing it to get the best out of them for them to achieve your goals, that just, it skews it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's about what they want. And this is when it comes to people truly, having that love and care. I'm not talking about a romantic love, but when you do love what the person, what they want to achieve, it's love for their dreams, it's love for their aspirations, it's care for their problems, and it's care for their fears.
Yeah.
That's what we mean when we say love and care for the person. We're not here to make them happy or make their dreams come true. We're here to enable them to achieve all of that for themselves.
Yeah.
That's what it means to set someone up for success. If I do something for someone else, then I know how to do it, but they're actually at a disadvantage because they still don't know how to do it. I've just put soothing cream on a broken leg. It doesn't work. So that's what it also means by raising the standard. It's about enabling other people. And
that's a really good point. Sorry, carry on.
No, go on.
That's a really good point about one thing that I think a lot of managers don't do, a lot of leaders sometimes don't do, and I'm guilty of it myself as well, is effective delegation. Because the excuse of, oh, I can get it done myself. There's certain things that, if it's a spreadsheet related thing, I'm a failed accountant. I've said it before on here, but I was 18 when I started using spreadsheets. I'm a lot older now, and I sit there and I can just do it, and I shouldn't. I should say to the person, this is what I want. I should get them to do it, and I should explain what the issue is, and hopefully that's one of the few things where I do that, whereas I'm better at other things. But I think that lack of delegation, that soothing cream instead of fixing the problem, is what you're doing, isn't it? It's all about when to delegate, when to correct someone, when to give them feedback. You may cover for them, but you need to give them feedback and say, I've had to cover for you because you've messed this up, but this is what it is. And it's hard sometimes because it is difficult to turn around to someone and say, you've done that wrong, change it. There are ways to do it, and there's tools and techniques to do it, but it's still hard to do it because no one likes to, well, I suppose it depends on character, but you don't want to deliver it in a way that injures that person or makes them feel uncomfortable. And human nature is you want to be popular. So by telling something bad to someone, you're not popular. Even if it's only for that little second of time, your inner chimp's trying to protect you. And I think it's, I don't know, it feels, again, it's out of being able to look at that person and say, what would you want in their position? And like you say, you'd want your leg fixed, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's what you'd want.
Ideally. Well, most people don't actually want to address the root cause. They rather just keep on the pain of the problem rather than actually do the quote unquote work in order to fix the problem.
Yeah.
But when it comes to feedback has to have two things. Number one, it has to be timely so that it can be relevant and addressed in real time. There's no point giving feedback 6 months down the line. What can someone do with that?
Well, no, I thought it was ideal to do feedback once a year at the end of appraisal. The excuse of why someone doesn't have their score. That's the way a lot of organizations do it, isn't it? Your year-end appraisal is when you get some feedback, because that's the justification. Because you were late 3 times 1 week last year. You know what I mean? That's what usually happens. Sorry, I interrupted there.
Yeah. No, that's fine. And that's the issue, is that people don't have real-time feedback, and then they don't have the opportunity to redirect course in real time. Exactly. There's no point, again, getting that, you did something last July and it's August next year. I mean, that really doesn't set someone up for success. But feedback also has to be evidence-based. What we also see is a lot of people basing feedback on how they feel, and that's an inaccurate representation. For as long as they're basing their feedback and their worldview on how they feel, then if their feelings change, so does everything else. So there is no basis for truth.
Absolutely right.
But then when it comes to what you're talking about, delegation, it's also knowing that, okay, a leader, their strengths, and they thrive when they do this. And it's the same for a manager. And anything that doesn't give them the space to do the deep and meaningful work that provides the greatest results moving forward, so, the 20% that creates the most results, then no one can ever be effective. With the example of my podcast, my natural disposition is the recording, the interviewing, the speaking, and that takes its time. But it's not going to be effective for me to then sit down and also do the audio production. So I delegate that. And if I were to take that on, then the amount of time it takes me to A, figure it out, B, implement it, I'm not I'm taking away time when I could be creating, when I could be writing books, when I could be serving clients. And this again, if I had that fear of, no, I'm the only person who can do this. Well, no, I need to skill myself in a way, and I need to have processes that say, this is what I want, this is what excellent looks like in my world, and this is what I do. And so I'm enabling the other person to deliver. Otherwise, that's how people end up buying, even if they're a leader, they end up buying themselves a job per se, where all what they're doing is the work that they were doing 10 years ago, but now they're still doing that instead of actually inhabiting that leadership function. So it's when people, and I've been on that receiving end, instead of someone wanting to explain something, they just go and do it. But what they don't also realize is that, okay, the work may quote unquote be done, but they're not realizing the emotional and tangible effects this has on someone that they're working under. And again, that falls under subpar management rather than exemplary leadership.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna point at my, have my finger in the right place, point at my latest
project.
My latest one, project manager productivity hacks. The section in delegation there, and it's not mine, it's taken from other people, the thoughts and ideas in there is the fact that it's leverage. Is the power of delegation as a manager, is that your hour, and in there, it's one of the things I talk about is you've got responsibility for an organization. You're responsible for maximizing that resource in that organization and getting the best out of them, and getting the most work, as you said before, the best work and the most work. But that also means you, as well as everyone who works for you. And so you spending, and it's the old thing, oh, I can do it in 15 minutes myself. It's going to take them an hour, and it's going to take me 15 minutes to show them. I'll do it for 15 minutes. I'll get it done. But the thing is, that has to be done every month. So that's you doing it 15 minutes every month. Whereas this month, you spend 15 minutes teaching someone to do it in an hour. Well, it's still, the organizational cost is an hour of someone who is likely to be lower paid, has less leverage than you. If you then spend that 15 minutes putting together a business case that saves time, 15 minutes for the rest of your team, which is say 20 people a month, well, you've saved that time that you think you were going to cost to do. You know what I mean? It's just about thinking that step beyond. And it's hard to do it sometimes because you kind of can't step back and go, it's that here and now where you've got to get it done. But have it actually going, oh, I'm going to go through the, in quotes, pain, get that person do it. They can do it from now on. Next month, they can do it with me having 5 minutes just to double check it. The month after, I'm not doing it anymore. And they've got better. They're doing it quicker. And you've spent that extra 15 minutes that you've got being able to focus on those priorities, on those 20%, on that new customer, on that new process, whatever it is. And that's delegation. A lot of people kind of come, oh, well, why? I've heard people saying, well, why should someone else have to do that? Why should someone do that administration role? Why should someone do this thing? And you look at people running massive organizations who don't drive themselves anywhere, and people are like, oh, they're all lazy in their big fancy cars. They're sat doing those 20% jobs in the back of that. They're not sat like a lot of us would be doing in the back of the car, playing whatever gay Angry Birds on our phone. They're sat in the back of their Maybach going, right, how do we launch this new product? How do we change the direction? What's the strategy of where? Or they'll be learning something that's going to help. And I know it from some of us looking up at some of these people who've got these private jets. They've got these things, but some of these guys, I'm not saying it, they will be working 18, 19, 20-hour days doing those sort of things, and therefore the amount of benefit of them being driven and driving to an organization is massive. But it doesn't look like it on the face. It looks like a luxury, doesn't it? It's like, I know when I used to travel when I was consulting, I'd have people who think, well, it's great to be, or I thought beforehand as well, that'd be great going around in hotels, staying in hotels all the time. It's all right for a little while, but after a while, there's I think I said it to someone here, there's only so many Caesar salads that you can eat and not be fed up, because there's always a Caesar salad as the healthy option, or it used to be when I was traveling, in every hotel. But then you sit there and go, oh, I'll have a steak. But it becomes norm. It becomes old. But I think with the whole point of delegation for me is that think about what you can do with that time. Think about how you can best use it for the organization. That's what you were talking about, the strategic and the leadership is, am I using every minute that I'm working for this organization in the most productive way that I can? If I'm not, then do I take that and give that to someone else?
Yeah.
Or allow me to do it in a few years? And I think it's one of the tools that I don't use well enough, and other people don't use it well enough to actually move forward, because the people feel that they shouldn't be giving what they would see as menial tasks to other people, because it feels like you're demeaning those other people, and you're not. You're helping those people stretch into doing the role that you're doing. In order to do your role, if they need to do those things, you train them to do it, and the way to train them to do it is give them the job to do it. You get them to run your meetings. You step away. Eventually, you're not doing any of your job. They're doing it. You make yourself dispensable. And if you've made yourself dispensable, you've done well, because either you can move on, you can take on more work for the organization, or you can do that strategic thinking.
That's right.
All right, I went off on a bit of a rant there. Yeah.
No,
I told you I'll go down rabbit holes.
No, it's good. And I would want to highlight one point that, yes, people see these people in the executive functions and they look like they have it easy, but they got there because they are incredibly intellectual. Like, they make really good decisions along the ways, and that's what they are fundamentally paid for at that level, is to make really good decisions that have long-term implications. And most people can't even make really good decisions for themselves on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. So when we're looking at executives or people who are making influential, let's call them influential decision makers within a business, they know how to make really good decisions. Even if they get the decision wrong, then you're obviously not going to know that in time. You will only know that as you implement. But even then, they know how to execute on a vision, execute on a decision. And the remuneration that they get is also reflective of the risk and responsibility that comes with being in that position. That's why they, get to have what we perceive as being, luxury or status and all of that. But it comes at a price of deferring gratification. And when most people at that professional bandwidth at the bottom, they want to do the absolute minimum and expect the absolute maximum, they have the completely wrong perception that's required to achieve that executive or sweet seat success. Because when you look at these people, all what they are is they're entrepreneurs, or they're entrepreneurial thinkers, but within an organization. If you were to take them out of an organization and put them in a startup, they'll do just as well. It's how they're thinking. They have the entrepreneurial approach. But people, especially throughout that lower bandwidth, they have the employee mindset, which is, I have a task, I need to do the task because I'm the best person to do it. And look at me, I'm so busy, I'm so overworked, pay me more, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think sometimes I've seen it where you've got that entrepreneurial spirit that is stifled by management as well. You will get the position where, and I'll hold my hand up here, as this is I'm the kind of person who set my boundaries, give me a responsibility. Yeah, set my boundaries, give me the responsibility, then leave me alone. Tell me my criteria. Don't sit on my shoulder. Don't let me. If I do it wrong, it's my fault. If I do it right, it's my fault. It's kind of, let me have that do or die scenario. The same as you said with the entrepreneurial position, where if you've run in your own business, if you screw it up, you screw it up. It's your fault. We have this wrap around organizations when we're working in. I've had some managers who have basically gone, you're running that. This is the minimum I expect from you. This is what I want you to do. Go away and do it. And left me alone, because there's a balance there, whether one, they trusted me to do it and that's how they worked, or they had no choice and they were too busy, and so they had to just hope that I did okay, one of the two. But either way, it meant I was able to design my organization, design what I was doing, and do it the way I wanted to do. And I've kind of got that now as well, where and I think it's important, because you can, as an organization, what people do, they either give people a free rein, do what you want, be the entrepreneur, and actually that can work in some organizations, but in others it won't, because you need to put boundaries around people, because some people will go, do what I want, hang on. But if you set them expectations, then they'll go, all right, fine, I can, that's where I've got to work within, so I can work within that. If you give them complete free range, it won't work. Or the other option is you go, right, you've got no free rein, you must follow, here's all the procedures, here's the processes, here's everything that you must do, and you must do it this way. And as soon as you tell someone to do something a certain way, you've killed creativity. The way that you do it, the way that the organization's done it for 10 years, 20 years, isn't necessarily the right way, especially as you say, industry changes. I imagine in your industry, pouring concrete has changed in the last 10, 20 years. Yeah, that's, as you know what I mean, it's probably a simple, basic thing that everyone would think, but I bet you it's changed, doesn't it? I bet you it isn't poured the same way it is 20, 30 years ago. Different strengthening materials, different tools and techniques and all that sort of stuff. And you've got to let people have that space. I think that's the thing that gets me. It's just that space to be able to get something wrong, really. I've got a sticker on my wall here, yeah. One of my podcast interviewees, and it's fail fast, learn quick.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. That's what entrepreneurs do. That's the basis of an entrepreneur, isn't it? They give something a go, find out it doesn't work, and because there's them and 6 others, they go, right, let's move this direction, let's move that direction. Whereas then you get in a monolith organization that's got, I don't know, even if it's, I think it's, was it? I think there was some study around organizational things. If you've got over 150 people, they cease to think of themselves as the same organization. They break up into smaller parts. So it would be into clans or into fiefdoms or whatever. And as organizations build, you'd end up having marketing against finance. Kind of, they are their own, they become protective. Smaller than that, they can feel part of one. But yeah, I just feel that you've got to, as your organizations get bigger, you've got to actively give people time to be that entrepreneur and get things wrong.
Well, most people's approach is, we're happy for you to come up and propose ideas, as long as it totally conforms to everything that we're doing and what we are already thinking, and doesn't actually cause us to disrupt or do anything different. So please, you're welcome to go and create ideas. That's what most people's approach is. And this is, again, you see them say A, but then on ground level, if you were to propose something new, and I'm not saying propose anything, it has to obviously align with the business strategy and it has to be communicated properly. But there really has to be that culture. And again, that comes from the top. It's not to say that every idea has to be implemented. Absolutely not. That's too cumbersome in an organization. But it is looking at, we've always done it this way, which is the construction industry's favorite saying in the whole wide world, versus, you know what, we have done it this way, it is working, but is there opportunity? Yeah. It's at least being open and getting people to focus on opportunity instead of memorizing processes and saying step 1, step 2, step 3. What about if instead of it being 5 steps, you can get it down to 3? I mean, why not? Yeah. So, but this, again, people are so latched onto that training, that conformity, that it stifles a lot within an organization. So
yeah, I suppose it's industry as well affects it, I guess. And it might be, again, me coming from the not understanding the industry fully, but when I look back at the IT industry that I've been in, I think in the early days it was very much maverick, new stuff. 4 people in a little darkened room near Portugal, long hair and flares, and they would build support, fix, repair, modify, think all of them, and there are these wizards living in your basement that understood how your IT system worked. Then it moves to that point of where you kind of got more mature, and it became very stringent and strict on how you change, and you must go through these release processes, and you can only do this, and it'd be long development periods. And now we're moving back into the agile processes, where there's a little bit of a blend of the two, where you've got that control, but you've got that agility to change, that creativity area, that thing to say, well, it doesn't matter how we do it. That's how we've done it. How are we going to do it? Because that need for change is quick. And I guess in the construction industry, again, I've been challenged on this before. We're talking to people around being agile in the construction industry. I think for me, looking at it in the IT industry, the bit that I see is fantastically useful is you develop something, you do that work, you fail, you look at how you did it, and you go, what did we learn? But you do it really short period of times. You do it in that 2-week or 4-week windows, rather than waiting till the end of your project 6 months in, going, what did we learn on week 2 when we were doing the gathering designs? And everyone goes, don't know, we weren't here, somebody else had done that, they've left. And you're not capturing those, you're not finding those improvements on how you do it. And I don't know whether in your industry there's that kind of thing starting to seep into there, where and that retrospective, that continuous improvement kind of thing, but in a not in a sort of, what's it called, ISO 9000 kind of way, but in that real team, we're doing stuff at the moment, can we do it better? Can we do it simpler? And challenging those historic processes. Is that something that's starting to happen in there, or is it something that's always gone on?
I can't say that I've seen that in the whole duration that I was working on project delivery. Doesn't mean to say it's not happening. Yeah. There are, at different levels it does happen. But I remember once I was working on site and I said, there was a graduate who had to print something off, hand it around to everyone else, collect each individual sheet from everyone else, and then go synthesize the hand markups from like 10 people. And then from that, produce the new version out, make it available for a meeting. This is a very cumbersome process. So my suggestion was, why don't we make a cloud document or something? And immediately people are like, no, the company isn't set up for this. So how would we do this? So they're already seeing the barriers instead of the opportunity. And also thinking, okay, this graduate's dream isn't to chase up this one document for 3 days a week.
They ain't going to be here very long.
Yeah. And, just quickly it was discarded instead of explored.
Yeah.
And this isn't to say it's reflective of the whole industry, but again, when people are coming up and all what they're hearing is, we've always done it this way, we've always done it this way, then all of a sudden they automatically start saying, we've always done it this way, when someone asks a question as to why it can't be differently. So again, it comes back to that entrepreneurial thinking, which is hugely missing because it isn't taught, and versus that employee mindset, which is taught.
Yeah, it is. And it's that. And I think you mentioned it about education as well. And I see it with I've got 2 daughters and my eldest in secondary school, and the way that the secondary school is set up, it's about compliance. It's about doing what you're told, and the education system still does that now. Doesn't aim to create creatures that think. They have creatures that are doing what they're told, and then they won't challenge those.
That is not what makes for exemplary leadership.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. No, and I think we could probably go down a big rabbit hole on the school side of it. There, I could talk for ages and get in trouble, I'm sure. It's coming up on an hour, and I think it's been a fantastic chat. I know you've got other things to jump onto. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. You mentioned your books. If people want to grab a copy of your book, you said it's out next week, did you say?
It's coming out on March 11, and it will be available on Amazon for global buyers, and for Australia on Booktopia, and of course Amazon Australia.
All right, brilliant, superb. And if people want to find out more about you, where do they go?
Eleanor Moshe on LinkedIn. I'm at Eleanor Moshe _ on Instagram, and every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time at the moment, I run the Construction Club on Clubhouse so they can join for live dynamic discussions on all things leadership and construction.
Brilliant, superb. Well, thank you very much, Eleanor. It's been a fantastic and fascinating chat. And
thank you, Nigel.
You have a fantastic rest of your day.
You too. Thank you for the conversation.
No worries. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed that first part, having a chat with Eleanor there. Come back in a couple of weeks and you can hear part 2. In the meantime, look after yourself. If you enjoyed the show, it would be brilliant if you would like to support it. Number of ways you can do that. Number one is sharing it with your friends and colleagues. The more people who hear about it, the more people get to get the experience from my fantastic guests. If you want to go a bit more than that, you could jump onto wherever you listen to this and give me a review. 5 stars would be lovely. And if you want to look at throwing some cash towards me, there are a number of ways you can do that. You can pop along to the Patreon/SundayLunchPM there, or you could grab one of the books that I've published over the years, and obviously I get a little bit of cash from those. On the website, under the shop, under the shop, I've got links to all of my previous guests' books, and Andy and Joel's is on there. And if you jump along to there, you can buy a copy of their books, and I get a little kickback from that too. And obviously, with our new headline sponsor of Tamplo, popping along, signing up, and if you end up using it, I will get a kickback there as well. So finally, obviously, as I say every time, the most important thing though is come back next time. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.
Well, it's goodbye from me, Nigel Creaser, and it's goodbye from him, the Sunday Lunch PM. Goodbye.